Hey there! Happy September. This is a pretty big month for me. I'm recording this ahead of time because I'm gonna have very little energy next week. So I might have a little addendum, I'm not sure yet.
I will, but only because I invited myself to.
But like by the time I upload this, I'll have just had my vaginoplasty, so I'm gonna be really out of it and really like loopy. So there's that.
Not quite. I decided to post this early because I realized I'm not going to have laptop access until next month. Oops.
And that's a big win for me. I've been on that waiting list for like 3+ years. But also big news is that my game VelociRapture will have just been released. My first print published game. That's like huge for me. Freaking huge. I've been working on this stuff for a long time, and this is my first time having something that you could actually buy and have a physical product. And it's one of my silliest games. I'm actually so freaking hyped for it. So please check it out. I did record a few clips for Hollandspiel to put into their overview video. You can see that right there, I think. Yeah. Wait, where's it there? I can't remember. Okay. Doesn't matter. I'll add it in post. But so check that out. And also maybe buy the game. It's there's a lot of creative space for people when they play that game. So I'm extremely excited to see it out in the wild and see how people engage with it. I have an extremely selfish request. If you have any fun stories or fun pictures of how your games turn out, how your dinosaurs cope with the apocalypse, please @ me on social media. You can find my stuff in the description. I would really love to see it because it's, like I said, this is my first published game. I'm really hyped for it, okay? So there's that.
Okay, I wanted to add a little context to this one because I'm realizing it sounds like a soulless marketing call to action. This game was my favorite game to playtest by far because of the ways, the wild ways that playtests would go off the rails and the very silly fun ways that games would go. So that's the thing that I'm going to miss is watching those experiences unfold. So I understand if you don't want to feed into social media algorithms and whatnot. If you're concerned about that, I would highly recommend Mastodon since there's no algorithms there. But also, I would be super happy if you just emailed me if you don't want it on public social media or algorithms or whatever. So yeah, honestly, I would just be super hyped for that. Thank you.
Very hype. So aside from that, I also designed a brand new game last month. This is a party game, a party infiltration game about unionizing that I call Organize. I felt very inspired when I was doing reading and research about unionizing, how to unionize, and the sort of oppositional nature of employers, management, and the workers. And I wanted to create a game that captured that conflict of trying to organize subtly against an oppressive force that had a lot of leverage against workers individually, but not as a united whole. And you've heard me talk about this before, but I personally have trouble abstracting human behavior, and this is a activity that's loaded with kind of important interpersonal interaction on a small scale. The act of unionizing has a lot of setting up a social atmosphere, but doing it in a way that you're avoiding a surveilling eye, and sort of combating propaganda, trying to pick up the vibe of if people would be interested and that sort of thing. And so I wasn't sure how I wanted to abstract that, and I usually don't. So instead I thought, what if I made this a party game for a lot of people? That's how I landed on the idea of a party infiltration game. So the way I'm envisioning it working is that you've got 2 players. You start with 2 players at a party. One player is the organizer, and they have a bunch of these organized chips. and then the other player is the boss, and they have a couple boss chips, and they have some fire chips. And the way the game works is that the organizer will try to distribute the organized tokens to a bunch of our players and try to get them to all raise their organized tokens at the same time. And the boss player is going to try to stop them from doing that. And they could do that by hiring people to be bosses along with them, or they could fire people, basically eliminating them from the game. So this abstracts a lot of like the interactions out, but I want to make sure that the game was concise enough that you could basically get the gist of like the core mechanic on like a 1-inch like token. So the organizer tokens are like raise these at the same time to win, and the boss tokens is like stop that to like or else you lose. So yeah, like in theory, what this does is it creates this dynamic where the boss is trying to maintain the status quo, trying to like spread, like tell people to not engage with this game, and trying to fish out the people like actively pushing it and like fire them. And the organizers are going to be trying to like sneak around and convince people to join in on this and win like united, like multiple people, as opposed to just a handful of bosses winning. So this game is extremely hard to test because it requires a lot of subtle communication. I need at least like 6 people at a time to test it. So like the only way I can imagine testing it is like at an actual physical party. So that's gonna be a challenge. Like I could like sneak it into another playtest, but digitally it's like really difficult to capture those like subtle, sneaky communication, like handing somebody something without like it being extremely obvious that something's being exchanged, you know? Like I was thinking about like sneaking it into a game of a digital game of VelociRapture, but yeah, like I said. So in that vein, I've created a print and play for it. So if this concept sounds interesting to you, I would be extremely grateful for any feedback if you want to try printing it. It's available as a free print and play on itch.io, so I'll be in the description. So if you check it out, please let me know. I would be extremely grateful, extremely. If I'm feeling well enough by the time PAX Unplugged comes around, I'll probably bring it to that, but yeah. Another game that I worked on was Bread. I didn't do a lot on it. I did test it. I tested all the changes I made, and the setup is a huge, massive improvement. Like night and day. Like setup used to take like 10-15 minutes, and it was a huge chore. People weren't sure if they were doing it right, but now it's just like bam! Oh, so crisp. So I'm very happy with that. I made some changes to the Harbinger. The problem with all the things I've been trying is that like when there's some like means that the Harbinger, the person who decides who the unrest goes to, the unrest events go to, there would be strategies that emerged that were like immersion breaking, but sort of allow people to control who was going to be the one distributing the unrest. My favorite iteration was when whoever revealed it would just give it to somebody. It just created this sort of unintentional buff to truck-heavy tableaus where you dig through the deck and you unveil all the events and give them to our players. So what I'm experimenting with is that the Harbinger is a card that gets passed to you when you reveal an event, and then you give it to somebody. But if you already have the Harbinger, you're forced to take the unrest. So if you're the one revealing all the unrest, it's mostly going to you. So I'm hoping that's intuitive enough, but you never know. You gotta test it. So I'm happy enough with it that I've decided to work on... I've updated print to play. I need to update it again with the new Harbinger change.
I did update it.
But I've also worked on the pitch video for it, and provided I've done that, because again, this is like from the past, so I'm planning on doing this in the next week, but you never know.
Don't worry, past me. I got it. I finished it. I did good.
But it's supposed to be like right there. And yeah, that was a lot of fun to make. I got to dress up as an Antifa cat girl. That was a lot of fun. There's another cut of it where the one strapped to a chair, which was kind of fun to make. But I felt like the video made a lot more sense when I was the one like in control. So yeah, maybe I'll make something out of that. But never know. Okay. If I was going to append anything else that happened in the next week, that would probably happen right here.
Oh, here's one minor development. I wrote a little design diary for Lēglē Binding, talking about like my inspirations and the intentions behind like the design. I don't usually like doing design diaries, but I was invited to write one for the tiny library, so I thought, why not upload onto itch.io? So you could check that out in the description if you like. Yeah, that's it. I'm going to intentionally awkwardly edit something for the sake of past me, okay? So get ready for that.
But if not, hope you're looking forward to a very awkward cut or edit job right here. Because that's it. That's all I got for right now. Thank you so much. I'm like extremely grateful for the sort of following that I have. Like it's kind of weird that I've got a lot of imposter syndrome, to be clear, and it's still strikes me as odd that people think of me in some sort of high regard in the board game space. Like it doesn't make sense to me. And now that I have something published, it feels a little bit more real. Not exactly like there's always going to be imposter syndrome, but I guess it's just, if anything, it's welling up more than ever right now, and I just want to express my gratitude towards. This is a very YouTuber-y thing. Thank you so much, you guys, my besties, my followers. But for real, thank you. Bye. Get out of here. Shoot. I'm recovering. Yeah, I'm healing.